one. Natalie Sullivan at the top, all 8-10 all second team, and Abby also. So here we go. Arkansas, number 4 national seed, St. Louis, first trip ever to the NCAA tournament. It was 1 year ago that they were in their league tournament. They got to the championship final and came up just short, and they sat in that pain for a little bit. They watched their opponents get the trophies on the field and promised themselves not only that they'd be back next year, but that they would win it all. They lost their first game of the conference tournament, 4 wins in a row, and here they are with a little bit of difficult travel along the way to get to the postseason, but nevertheless, very glad to be here.
Yeah, and just talking to them, you can just see the fight that they have, the belief that they have in one another, and ultimately, like, they were not ready for their season to end. They said in the press conference, we just are excited to have more time with our best friends.
1-2 to Sullivan on a 7-game hitting streak, and she goes down, chasing upstairs. Burnham starts off on a great note.
And I expect Burnham just to come right at these hitters, get ahead, and then try to make them chase like we just saw right there. Nice rise ball. Once you fall behind, you got to really make sure it's a strike.
Now Abby Ulsis, the sophomore second baseman from Fenton, Missouri. And what you'll see on this team a lot, they are very proud to wear St. Louis across the front of their jerseys, because majority of this team comes from, if you drew a circle that represented about an hour radius of this club, you get almost every player on the roster inside of that circle. Probably also need a protractor too, and I don't know where to buy one of those.
Well, they talk just about the pride about representing St. Louis and how much it meant to them, and you really felt that hometown, just that love and really that excitement to represent and to be here on the big stage.
The Bills winners of 34 games this year, second most in the history of the program. Drop in the dirt from Burnham. And the count 2-1 on Ulsis. 13 wins this year for Burnham, the freshman from Eugene, Oregon. Most by an Arkansas freshman since Mary Half back in 2017. Who's now on the staff for Larissa Anderson at the University of Missouri.
I think that's a big deal, you know, just the athletes that have played in this uniform and being able to follow in those footsteps and make a name for yourself. We've really seen Burnham do that as a freshman.
When you come to an SEC program, more often than not, the record books are going to be pretty stacked, so it's very hard to leave an imprint in your number 1. And she's the daughter of an All-American. Her mom, Kendall, did that back at Texas A&M back in the mid-90s. And the Aggies this year, every team but one in the SEC into the postseason field, and A&M the number 1 overall national seed for the first time. Ulsis has fouled away a couple and gets soft contact. Davison charges and flips, and just in time to get her fellow second baseman 2 down.
And the mixing speeds right here in the first inning, being able to show that you're going to have to make sure you're really seeing it out of her hand. You cannot try to time her up only on her hard stuff. You got to read when that changeup is coming.
This is the catcher, Abby Mallow, 368 hitter, 19 home runs and 80 runs driven in. Second most in the country, only behind Kat Rodriguez at the University of North Carolina. Congrats to the Tar Heels, back into the NCAA tournament field for the first time since 2019. They did fall today, though, against Ohio State, and Rodriguez did not drive in any of their 6 runs, so the gap is still just 3 for Abby Mallow, the biomedical engineering major with a 3.42 GPA. As if the stat line wasn't impressive enough. She is out in front there.
Yeah, that rise ball coming in hard up and in at your hands, mid-60s, and then just her pulling that string. It's a tough pitch to read out of her hand.
Trip to the plate here in the NCAA tournament, and their starting lineup is presented by Capital One. Well, it all revolves around Bree Ellis, a .475 average this year, 4th in Division I, on pace to easily be an Arkansas single-season record. The 2025 SEC Player of the Year, just the second to do that, and tied for the league's single-season home run record. And in the circle, the senior from Frankfort, Illinois, South Suburban Chicago, is Taylor Hockman, their leader in just about every important category.
Well, she is. She's thrown 182 innings for them, and she's going to work east to west. But we were talking to her, and it's her knuckleball that really kind of makes her stand out. I think she's going to have to really make that effective here to see if she can keep the hitters off balance. And at the end of the day, like, it's her mentality, that fight mentality. Coach just telling us how strong she is mentally.
Yeah, so it's not really a changeup. It's a knuckleball that she learned at about age 10 and has been throwing it ever since. So we'll see how that pitch dances here today against Courtney Deinfel's Razorbacks. Bottom of the first inning, their first postseason action. St. Louis in their history, and Arkansas looking to make it to the World Series for the first time. Third-year starter in center field, Reagan Johnson. She is a triple threat at the plate who can absolutely fly once she gets on the base paths.
Well, she's so fast and spent some time in track. I found out yesterday she was the state champion in 300-meter hurdles. So just even more impressed. We got a chance to talk to her, and really just has that attitude as a leadoff hitter to be the table setter on your team.
Well, she told us, too, that when she's in this leadoff spot, which is her responsibility, not only is she speedy, as you mentioned, 300-meter hurdle champion, 109 for 109 in stolen bases in her high school softball career, too, but she views her responsibility in this particular plate appearance. Sometimes it's seeing pitches, the other times it's getting on base. And an excellent job there from Natalie Sullivan in her 216th consecutive start out in left field to whip that ball back into the infield, because Johnson was absolutely looking for two.
Oh yeah, she's thinking two right out of the box, and she runs through the box. But she was telling us yesterday, she's not just trying to tap it, she's trying to hit it hard. And really nice shot past Johnson at third base, not able to get a glove on it. But I like the aggressiveness she was thinking too, but like you said, Sullivan kept her from that.
Johnson a threat to run over at first base. Now Reagan Kramer at the plate. And these two, we talked to both Reagans yesterday, neither of whom goes by Reagan. We're an absolute hoot to talk to. Clearly they enjoy being friends with each other, being teammates with each other.
Well, and you really get to feel, as you talk to the athletes that make up these teams, just their personality and why it works so well. They talked about this team being the most competitive team they've ever been a part of, but they have fun with that competition.
1-1 to the Reagan, who goes by Jimmy, which goes back to about 7 years ago. She was trying out for a team wearing number 99. They knew somebody who was a number 99 who they used to play men's fast pitch with, so the nickname showed up, and it stuck. And Reagan Johnson over at first base goes by Johnny. Jimmy to shallow right field. On the move, Allie Marietta tracks that down. And we started today mid-afternoon. Here, this is game 2, but clearly you can see that the right side here at Bogle Park still difficult with the sun coming down into the second baseman, first baseman, right fielder's eyes. And the shadows, of course, a big picture as well, as Bree Ellis comes to the plate. So this, I think, is the biggest question of this game. How do the Billikens pitch to Bree Ellis?
Well, yeah, I think even if they are going to, are they going to give her a chance to swing the bat? One of the things I love about Bree Ellis is she is waiting for a strike. She's not going to be overly aggressive. She's going to wait for her pitch still, so she has a great at-bat.
And there goes Johnson in the second base. She is 20 of 22 in stolen base tries this year. We asked her yesterday, well, what happened on the other two? No disrespect, just like, how did you actually get caught? Because of how fast she is. Such a great break there. She said one was a ball in the dirt. I took off, bad read. The other one just got a bad jump. Now the other 20, perfect. And it's 3-0 to Bree Ellis.
Well, and when you have speed like that gets on, like she is, a table setter, able to reach base safely, it gives you that option to be able to steal that base and now be in scoring position. That's where speed really, really can play a big difference, especially late in the season.
Never really much to wave the bat at there, so Bree Ellis takes the walk. She's over to first base, and it's first and second for Courtney Day. 26 home runs is great for Ellis. 16 by any measure for Courtney Day is also phenomenal. First-year transfer from the University of Texas.
Well, and you have a hitter like Bree Ellis, and that is where it's so important to be able to protect her. You want the hitters that follow her to be able to get the job done, and Day really is a great fit in that spot right behind Ellis.
And that's 6 straight now that have missed the zone. Ellis with the 26 home runs, Day with 16. 42 of the team's 70 home runs here in the 3 and 4 spots in the lineup.
You go through SEC play, and really it just prepares you so much for postseason because you've faced the best pitchers in the country, and so it allows you to be really picky as a hitter.
And Hockman walks 2 in a row. The bases are loaded now for Kaylee Wyckoff. Well, it was clear that pitching to Ellis, there was no intent of giving her anything to hit. The Day plate appearance was a little bit more nibbling, and now there is nowhere to put Wyckoff. Razorbacks right fielder with the bases full, 1 out.
Well, and this is where, again, all the expectation right now is on Arkansas to put up a bunch of runs, but you still have to be so picky. And we see Hockman, like you mentioned, just trying to nibble at the corners, right? Just trying to hit those spots. But these hitters, like, they're waiting for their pitch. And I think that's so important. You get into postseason, you don't want your adrenaline too big to start chasing anything. You just want to stay patient and really see it as well as you can.
And they know that the pressure is already mounting against Hockman. She's missed 9 straight pitches out of the zone. 4 pitch walks to Ellis today, and 1-0 to Wyckoff, the former Big 12 Freshman of the Year at Texas Tech in her first season here in Fayetteville. Wyckoff finally offers it one, and the count 2-2.
When Hockman using the corner, she's a curveball, screwball pitcher, so she really does work east to west. I think the key with that, with those pitches, is to make sure those are knee height. And we see her when she's missing, just missing off of the plate or a little bit too far inside.
Runners at every base. Johnson at third, Ellis at second, Day at first. And here comes Johnson in to score. Ellis is held up at third base. It's a line drive RBI single for Kaylee Wyckoff. Arkansas leads St. Louis 1-0.
And that's a nice piece of hitting. I think in this game one, you stay patient, you see what you get, you wait for that pitch, and it's inside. She's pretty close to the plate in this, and so she does a good job, doesn't try to overswing, but instead just meets it. You know, when they've faced really hard pitching, sometimes you get ahead of the pitcher that's not as fast. And so I think it's important not to overswing, right? Because you can tend to get a little bit bigger of a swing when the pitcher's not throwing as hard.
39th time now in 52 games, this being 53, that Arkansas has scored first and they've won 32 of those previous 38 games. It's a good formula for success. Ella McDowell, the third baseman, the sixth batter of the inning. Freshman this year was second team All-SEC. Year number 10 for Courtney Deifel, here turning this program around. A two-time SEC Coach of the Year, and has led them to 8 of their 14 all-time NCAA tournament appearances. And clearly has a patient lineup card today.
Yeah, and she knows what it takes. I love the fact that she's been on the biggest stage and she's won it all when she was a player at Cal, and knows the feelings and emotions that these athletes are having when they step into the batter's box.
That's ball 4, and that is the second run for Arkansas. Give McDowell her 49th RBI of the year. That brings Ellis home. So in the history preceding Courtney Deifel, the first year of Arkansas softball was 1997. She's the all-time wins leader, and since her arrival, 5 40-win seasons, 5 of the 7 hosting regionals. They've gone to supers 3 times. But the last 2 years, their season has ended here in this round at this ballpark. So there is a real sense of determination with this squad this year. And they were just antsy yesterday, saying we are ready to go. It kind of feels like the first week of the regular season, where all you want to do is just get out there and play. This is season number 2 of the year, regular season in the books.
Yeah, she said it felt so long of a week to get to this game, and they were just ready for the game to be here, you know. And I think there's a lot of that anticipation. You kind of check off the box of like, okay, we know postseason, okay, we're hosting, okay, let's go, let's get on the field.
20 balls, 9 strikes, a laser into center field. Day scores, Wyckoff on her tail. A great start for Arkansas, 4-0 in the first. Kennedy Miller drives in 2.
When you gotta love right now, right off the bat, all of these hitters are coming up and staying patient, waiting for a good pitch, and then they're not trying to do too much of it. This pitch was up, elevated a little bit, but you just see a calm, compact swing, and I really like what I see, because I think you might see their swing get a little bit bigger as they start to put a few more runs on the board.
Eighth batter of the frame, the shortstop, Atalia Rijo. 2 on and 1 down. Rijo gets caught up, checks her swing, and it is indeed a strike, 0-2.
See, she just gets just in front of that ball, a little bit of a break, that's the right call. There's that knuckleball for you.
Arkansas coming out of the SEC tournament, a couple of wins before they fell against Oklahoma. Knocked off Georgia 5-1, then Tennessee 6-1, and came up just short against Oklahoma 8-6 in the semifinals at Jack Turner Stadium in Athens, Georgia. The message that they left from that game with was to not let their foot off the gas. Scored early in that game against the Sooners, but as many opponents have learned, and the Razorbacks did too, there's never enough offense against Oklahoma. You just got to keep scoring, because you're not going to be able to hold them down for all that long. And they are sending a message here in the first inning.
Well, and I think that's the message, you know, you just mentioned. It doesn't matter your opponent, no matter what the expectations are, any team, but of course, obviously, especially against a team like Oklahoma, you just can never have too big of a lead. And so I think they will use that heading into this postseason, and it could be something that was a great lesson learned before it really hurt them.
So Arkansas bases loaded as it's a visit to the circle from St. Louis pitching coach Maxine Rodriguez. But Arkansas did not have an ideal start to their SEC calendar either. First 2 series, they dropped 5 of their first 6 games. And Courtney Deifel, we don't know exactly what she said. Her players said, oh, we can't repeat that. Courtney Deifel said, I'm sure you understand what I said. But it was basically lighting them up. Is this the kind of season we want to have? And since then, the results speak for themselves.
Well, the idea is they really responded, and you're not totally sure. And she said, I don't know if other teams in the past would have, but this team, they did.
Carly Davison goes first pitch hunting, and that's an RBI single. It's 5-0 Razorbacks. They have batted around here in the first inning. 5 of the first 9 come in to score. Some walks helping them along the way, and it's back to the top. The second plate appearance of the inning for Reagan Johnson.
And this is where you have a power slapper in Johnson to where she can hit it gap to gap, because normally in a situation with bases loaded, you're not thinking having to slap her up is ideal. But in this situation, she's really thinking outside, left center gap, inside, turn it to the right center gap.
Well, you said it in her first at bat of the inning. And when she's up there, something her dad passed along to her. He's trying to take the pitcher's head off with what she's doing and sending the ball right back through the origin.
Well, and I've really felt like slappers are such an important part to the game when they have such great bat control and they have the speed, because they don't have to perfectly square it up. But I also have found that some slappers are really better soft slappers and others are better at hard slapping. It's great when you can do both. I'm sure she can, but they tend to be, you know, one way or the other where they're more confident.
That's a liner to short, throw to third, double play. They lost at home in Supers in 21, in 22, and then in 2023 in regionals, they got eliminated. A couple of losses to Oregon. Last year, losses to Villanova and Arizona, and the season came to an end before they wanted it to.
Well, do you think analytics assistant coach Matt Michael is telling them that percentage? Like, that's what I want to know.
Yes, but then I also am curious what the reaction is too.
Hey guys, just so you know, the odds are ever in our favor.
Certainly are when you score 5 runs in the first inning.
Yes.
The numbers guru, Matt Michael, certainly helps them out a lot with the defense. When we were talking with left fielder Reagan Kramer, center fielder Reagan Johnson yesterday, and they kind of just looked at each other and they're like, yeah, we get a lot of information. And they like it, but you know, they gave an example of like preseason. Okay, in this situation, runners at first and second, where does this outfielder throw 73% of the time? And it's like, what?
And they just gave the confused look, like, and just shake your head and walk away.
But the results speak for themselves. The fielding percentage on this team is tremendous this year to go along with the offense. And oh yeah, the pitching, as the cleanup hitter Jane Kineski goes down on strikes. 3 strikeouts in the first 4 batters for Peyton Burnham.
Well, Burnham is going to come inside in that low rise ball just on the hands to where it does not look like it's going to be good, and they get the ring out.
Down the right field line, on the run. There's Wyckoff. 5 up and 5 down. This is a luxury, too, for a team to have a starter, because you come into this in this game, you're the national seed. And within the bracket, you're number 1 versus the number 4 team, St. Louis, which had to get an auto qualifier to get into the NCAA tournament, to not have to pitch your ace in this first game, because that's how confident you are in Burnham to get the job done.
Yeah, and I think the reality is any team that wants to win it all, you're going to have top performances by the staff. And I think it's huge when you have a freshman who's been able to come on the scene like Burnham and be able to balance Robin Heron. And they obviously have Berline as well and Cam Harrison. But really, it's been Robin Heron and Peyton Burnham has done most of the heavy lifting this year.
Heron there in the dugout, the junior from Tampa, second team All-SEC this year. One of her best games this season, a career high 16 strikeouts in an 8-inning win against Tennessee. So we will see her tomorrow. Chloe Ryan just out in front on a 2-1 pitch.
Yeah, she hit that ball a long way foul. Usually defensively you're like, that's just a long strike. And now with 2-2, see if Burnham can get her to chase one.
Ryan out in front just a bit again, but McDowell handles it over it. The Women's College World Series returns to Oklahoma City, and the action begins Thursday, May 29th, noon Eastern, live on ESPN. For more information on the Women's College World Series, go to NCAA.com, the official online home for all 90 NCAA championships. Here at Bogle Park, Fayetteville, Arkansas, the home of the Razorbacks, a 5-0 advantage over the Billikens of St. Louis University, champions of the Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament, their first trip to the NCAAs. So the Billikens, one of a handful of teams making their first appearance ever in the NCAA tournament this year. Good number, 5 first-timers this year. Belmont, Mercer, North Florida, and Santa Clara. Reagan Kramer, second inning, second trip to the plate. She flied out to right in the first.
Yeah, and head coach Christy Canoyer, a former player herself, and you know, just really so proud of these athletes. I think for her, just this program that she has led, you could kind of tell like she had felt that this moment was coming, and this was the year that they were going to do it. They had a win streak of 15.
Second ball hit to the right side by Kramer. This time it finds its way through, getting past Abby Elsis.
And so just, you know, just how proud she was. And you look at what she's done, and they were able to win that title, and it is their first appearance like you've mentioned, but 15th season, and really Abby Mallow is that star that we've been talking about. And you could tell these athletes also, like, they want to win for her as well.
Now Bree Ellis, her first swing here in the game after her first plate appearance, did not yield any swing-worthy pitches. And they know on the St. Louis staff, it's not hard throwers, it's not pitchers who are going to blow you away with their stuff. They want to work low, down and away to Ellis, and at least minimize whatever damage she's capable of doing. 26 home runs for Bree Ellis, tied for the SEC single-season record.
Well, and sometimes I think as well, to be able to know that you were able to face this type of a hitter, and if you got her out, you know, this time we're seeing them potentially going right at her, and they just were outside, knuckleball, drop ball, curve ball, just not able to catch that corner. That pitch right over the heart of the plate. It was a knuckleball, so I think that's maybe what paused Bree Ellis.
Not something you see all the time?
Yeah, maybe.
3-2 to Ellis. Nation's leader in OBP, in slugging, and the walks, a big factor as well. Now 59 walks. 58 during the regular season. We're second most in the country. Second most homers this year, too. And the 3-2, lofted left field. But the ballpark holds it, and so does Natalie Sullivan.
And Ellis just missing that ball, and that's just her not even getting much of it, and that's how far it carries, almost to the left field fence. A nice piece of pitching by Taylor Hockman.
Yeah, keeping Ellis a little bit off balance. Now the task is to do the same against Courtney Day. Her thought last year she was done with softball. She took a teaching and coaching job at Tarkington High School in Cleveland, Texas. She's from Pearland, Texas. She was not only the head softball coach, she was a math teacher. She said, I love math. I just didn't realize I didn't like teaching it all that much. She said, I'm a lot better at understanding it than I am teaching it to other people. I hear you. I had trouble with the understanding part. I didn't get to the teaching part. We were talking about that actually with some of the Billikens players, because you got some absolute academic all-stars. Taylor Hockman in the circle. She's a major in education and math, a 3.77 GPA. I admitted, of course this is well in the past now, the only math class I took in college, all of the tests were open textbook, and I got a C.
No, they're very smart, and you love that, because really, like, these student athletes, I think sometimes we forget about the student part. They don't, because obviously they're in class all the time, but really that is such a huge part of their experience, and they have such a high standard.
That's ball 4 to Courtney Day, so she is aboard for the second time with another free pass. 5-0 Arkansas, bottom 2. We have seen some lopsided scores around the country today in this first day of action. Notably, Duke was a 12-0 winner over Howard. Tennessee put up 17 against Miami, Ohio. Nebraska scored 10, allowing 2 against UConn. Clemson, a 10-2 winner over USC Upstate, Aaron McWhorter Stadium. Texas scored 10 runs. And Oklahoma right now, at last check, up 7-0 over Boston University. How about Southeast Louisiana holding it close there with LSU? Santa Clara, even with your alma mater, Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, it's postseason. Like, everybody is bringing their very best, right? This is what everybody is living for, those moments, and these teams just get opportunities to stay in those close games. You never know what might happen late in the game.
It's the 9th matchup between Arkansas and St. Louis. And the Razorbacks are 8-0 all time against the Billikens. Last time they played a doubleheader back in 2018, which was a sweep by the Hogs. Wyckoff 2-2, past the Defensive Player of the Year in the A-10, Chloe Ryan, and the throw in from center field is off target. Wyckoff has her second RBI single, 6-0 Razorbacks.
I really just like the at-bats that these Hogs are having, like really just patient, waiting for a good pitch to hit, and then staying through the ball. That is really nicely placed outside corner by Hockman, but we see Wyckoff do exactly what she should. She doesn't do too much. She gets her barrel to the ball and just takes it back up the middle. Even shortstop Chloe Ryan was playing deep and was shaded toward the middle and still got up the middle.
Ryan helped finish off the first inning with a double play. That's playable in right field. Day tags up and heads over to third. But the line drive to Chloe Ryan at shortstop that ended the first inning was their 26th double play of the year. That set a new school record for the Billikens.
And that's just it. A lot of times you might be seen as way above your head when you're facing Arkansas, team at the top of the SEC, but you look at those numbers and that's what it comes down to. We talked about Mallow and her 80 RBIs. We're talking about those double plays. Like, that's playing the game the way it's supposed to be played at that high level, and shows why they're here in the postseason.
As you're lauding the Razorbacks' approach at the plate today, is it difficult, or does it just take patience to wait for a pitch you want to see when a pitcher has not had her best control?
Yeah, I think really it's patience and making sure you are picking your strike zone. And sometimes it's harder when, you know, you're used to seeing pitches that are in the high 60s, low 70s, and sometimes it can be harder when you see, you know, different speeds and the knuckleball that you're not used to seeing. But at the same time, we know that they've done their homework and they are prepared for this moment. Yeah, I think there's just some of those matchups like you're mentioning that people really want to see. Think of Stanford being there and knowing what it takes to get to the Women's College World Series, the success they've had under Jess Allister. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
And Virginia Tech has the nation's home run leader in Corey McMillan, who hit 30 during the regular season. Here, Bree Ellis at first base, second in that race with 26.
Yeah, those numbers that they're putting up are just phenomenal.
0-2, right to Ellis. And 7 straight retired for Peyton Burnham. We talk about looking all around the country. The best way to stay on top of everything is 7 innings live. Take you to the best coverage, and it's all available on the ESPN app. Every game, every big moment on the road to the Women's College World Series. Chris Budden, Tori Vidalis, Tara Henry with the coverage here on day number 1. And tomorrow, it only gets crazier. 3 games at every site tomorrow. And by the end of Saturday, only 2 teams will remain at every regional, and 1 team emerges